If you're a family wondering whether living abroad with kids is actually affordable, then this video is for you. We're going to compare the US to 3 other world schooling experiences we've had, break it down into 6 categories, and give you the result. As part of our world schooling mantra, we spend at least 3 months in one place. So the numbers that I'm giving you are an average of 3 months in each of the locations, plus 3 months in the US before we left to go world schooling. We broke our spending into 6 categories: housing, food, healthcare, education, transportation, and activities. There is one other category we'll talk about, but we leave that off for reasons I'll explain at the end. Considering all those categories, our monthly baseline while living in the US came out to $7,251. This number will also vary based on where in the US and which suburbia you live in, but it just gives you an idea where we're starting from. There's no mortgage included there, and we'll cover that in more detail later. The other major factor to consider here is we did 3 totally different world schooling versions. I'll explain why this changes the numbers so much as we go. For Sintra, we used Boundless Life's Accommodation. Although you don't have to stay there, it comes with weekly cleanings, you have a Slack channel, you can ask for any fixes or changes, you're going to be right next to other Boundless families in all likelihood, so it comes at a premium. In Bocas, Coley organised a co-living experience through an Airbnb. There were 4 different accommodations. We picked the most expensive one because it had more space and more rooms for the boys, and we wanted to splash out. But there were 3 other families there who paid less than half this amount. So again, this number varies a lot depending on the accommodation that you choose. For Tamarindo, we did our own research. There were multiple school options in the area. We found the one that we liked. We met them virtually, and then they actually recommended the Oaks condos, which is literally a 5-minute walk to the school. The food number includes groceries and dining out and coffee shops. And yes, we spent a lot of time in coffee shops, both in the US and in each of our destinations. It did surprise me how similar this number was between all 4 destinations. Bocas was a little bit more expensive, and it did feel that way there. It is a more remote island, so getting exported groceries on there has a little bit of a premium to it. But we did bring costs down because we actually shared meals with the other 3 families that lived with us. I was surprised Sintra came out pretty similar because I felt like eating out and food in Portugal was a lot cheaper. And I did think Tamarindo would be a little bit more because eating out and groceries here it also seems quite expensive. But the numbers for now don't lie. Okay, healthcare. Very variable depending on your family and your exact situation. For us in the US, we were on an ACA plan. It was running about $420 a month. So that's part of the 639 number here for the US. Once we realized we were going all in for world schooling, we cancelled that plan, so we no longer had that premium to worry about. For Sintra, we used GeoBlue. After Sintra, we switched to SafetyWing, which we still currently use. There are a couple of different levels on SafetyWing, from the basic to the more coverage option, depending on your comfort level. But along the way, we had emergency room visits in Sintra, which cost literally more than what our copay would cost under insurance in the US. We just got vaccines here in Costa Rica that were less expensive than it would have been to do that through the US under insurance. Saving on the US insurance premiums and putting that money towards what we pay out of pocket is working for us so far. But do your research. Check out GeoBlue, check out SafetyWing. Okay, education costs. Very variable depending on the type of education and the program that you use. Our US baseline here was based on a nature school we had our kids attend for 3 days a week, plus some nanny care, coming out to $1,168. Sintra number is by far the biggest here, and that's part of Boundless Life. The Boundless Life education program is definitely the most robust that we have experienced, both in the US and on our world schooling travels. They've literally built schools in all their locations from the ground up. It's a really organised program, and it compares quite a lot to the US, with a little bit more nature-based, Waldorf and Montessori style included. With their model, it makes it really easy to transfer from one Boundless location to another. You get a Boundless passport. If you just want to jump in and feel really confident in the education you're going for, the Boundless model allows you to do that at any of their locations. The experience in Bocas was very different, but still a great option for our kids. Coley had experience in Bocas and knew a local school. They had way less resources and teachers than what Boundless did, but our boys had a really great time. They were able to walk to school every day. They were exposed to the French and the Spanish language. They did a lot of little nature walks. There are a lot of options in Costa Rica for schools, somewhere in the middle of Bocas and Boundless at $1,500. They're very used to people dropping in for 1 week up to 6 months, even beyond. It's a very flexible program that allows you to experience life in Costa Rica for your kids. Common theme so far is the country you choose doesn't really impact the cost. It's really the model of world schooling that you choose and your lifestyle. For transportation, we're not comparing apples to apples. We got ourselves around in very different ways between each of the 4 locations. In the US, we had the standard 2 vehicles, a family car and a truck. With all the insurance and the property taxes and the running of those 2 vehicles, we were running around $13.50 a month. When we went to Sintra, we didn't have a car at all. We mostly walked. We walked to the school, we walked to the community centre, we walked to the work hub, we walked to the restaurants. Anytime we went to the beach, it was a bit further away, we got an Uber. We used the Ride Safer harness for the boys. It was really easy. We did rent a car for 2 weekends to go to Porto and Setúbal. The overall cost came to $657. In Bocas, we happened to live right next to an ATV rental place, and we rented an ATV for 2 months. That got us around the whole island. You could ATV everywhere. Downtown, to the beach, snorkeling. We ATV'd at $455 a month. In Costa Rica, we did rent a car. On average, that was costing us $988 a month. As you would expect for activities, this went up in each of the world schooling locations. Because when you live somewhere new, you're going to explore a lot more than when you're just at home. Sintra stands out here because this was with Boundless Life. Boundless Life offers a bunch of activities for families to do in each of the months that you're there, and it's hard not to do them because when you don't do them, you get FOMO. We've talked about this in our other video about Sintra Boundless if you're interested, but the FOMO is real. Whether it's surfing, padel, hiking activities, family days, these activities are priced at a premium. They are not cheap. If you don't like to worry about logistics and you just want to show up and have a good time, these activities are great. We found a pretty good balance of doing our own activities with other families at Boundless and doing the organised activities. We will share more on those in our upcoming Boundless cohorts in the next couple months here. For Bocas, we snorkeled a lot and it was free. We would just jump in the ocean with our snorkel and see fish, sharks, octopus. But we did do some really fantastic experiences exploring a bat cave. We did a bioluminescence night swim, a dye walk through the jungle with some local guides, and we would spend some time at some of the fancy resorts around the island. There's a lot to see in Bocas del Toro. The Tamarindo number was pretty similar. We did some touristy things like the fire shows, but mostly we were doing nature-based activities with the boys. We did a nature walk looking at trees in downtown Tamarindo, a wildlife walk further down the coast. We did a float down on the Rio Celeste, which is the bluest river I've ever seen, and we checked out mystical hanging bridges, which was really cool, and Protecto Aces, which is a nature conservation wildlife refuge, which we highly recommend. They really know their stuff and educated us and the boys a lot about how they care for animals that they release back into the wild. We had a pretty good balance in Tamarindo of just having regular day-to-day life and exploring when we could with the boys. We definitely don't go in any place we do. The hardest place not to go is definitely the Boundless cohorts. So when we add all that together, here's what it looks like. And at this point, there's a pretty big gap between our regular suburban life and our world schooling life abroad. But this doesn't tell the full story. Because now that we're abroad full-time, we rented out our house back in the US. While we take into consideration the rental income that we have while world schooling that we don't have while living in the US, the total costs look like this. The US, Panama and Costa Rica are pretty similar. Sintra through Boundless is definitely an outlier. It is more expensive to world school with Boundless. That doesn't mean we won't do Boundless. We still love Boundless, it's a great program. We just have to balance exactly how many times we do Boundless and exactly how we do Boundless. The other category I wanted to talk about is movement. Obviously, you have to move from country to country when you're doing world schooling. The reason that I didn't include it in our costs is because we use travel hacking. We get credit card bonus points, and essentially all of these trips that would literally have cost thousands of dollars actually cost us $0 because we use travel points to pay for them. Over time, we've racked up probably $30,000 to $40,000 worth of travel points. We do have a video on that, so check it out if you want to get started today. For our family, living abroad and world schooling has ended up about 10 to 20% of what we were spending in suburban life in the US. At that point, it became less about the money and how much it cost, and more about our lifestyle and what it was going to mean for us. We've already seen so much, met so many like-minded people, and learned so much from the cultural experiences we've had so far. And we're excited to keep showing our boys the world.